Well, it is that time of the year when we get to discuss everything about stats, scaling, weapons, builds, and just all in all prepare ourselves for when the game finally launches on the 13th this month, October. This is going to be something similar to what we did back in the launch of Elden Ring, where we did have to speculate a little bit because, we didn't know much about Elden Ring. We had to speculate that it was going to be the stats and all of that kind of stuff, weapon scaling. It was going to be like Dark Souls 3. It ended up being that the case, so that's actually quite amazing. This time around, though, a lot of people has already played the game. All of these things are already confirmed, and it's basically a mimicry from Elden Ring, Souls formula, Dark Souls, and all of those stats that you have right there. But that being said, if anything, what this is going to be doing for veterans is that it's going to shake up a little bit the rust that you have from Elden Ring, because the stats, like I said, are going to be fairly similar to that. The scaling, the progression, and the builds that we're going to be building. But the redundancy about that. For new players, if you are just new to this kind of formulas, then you're going to learn a little bit better how to not mess up your character while you are leveling up on the world of Lords of the Fallen. That said, we are going to begin basics. We're going to start with stats and basically what is it that they do. The basics of everything, the core of everything, just basic little things about the stats. And then we're going to move forward and progress into things that I like to do personally in every single one of my Souls likes. How do I like to level up? What is the ideal thing? How do I make a character builds? What is the archetypes, different archetypes that we are going to have, and how do I actually get to make those archetypes efficient? The weapons, how am I going to be making my weapons, so on and so forth. So these are the stats that we have. Pretty basic, not too much diversion into many little branches. It's just going to be strength, agility, endurance, vitality, radiance, and inferno. They are spread in kind of a manner that it makes a little bit noise in my mind. Not going to lie to you, but that being said, let's just begin with strength and agility. Those are going to be the melee focused stats that are going to increase the scaling of the weapons archetypes that we're going to discuss later on this video. But basically, strength is for heavy weapons, agility for nimble, weeble weapons. And then we have Radiance and Inferno. I'm jumping above Endurance and Vitality because first we want to focus with stats that are going to scale the damage of our weapons. Radiance scales the damage of spells, miracles, and it also, most likely, we have like 100 weapons in this game. If we have elemental weapons that have Radiance stat, this is the stat that is going to increase the damage, the scaling damage of those weapons. But also, again, like I said, the catalyst. Do have in mind that there's different catalysts in this game as well. Some catalysts are going to be better than others, but they are going to change also depending on the scaling, like it happens in Dark Souls. So for example, one talisman, one catalyst could be better at low, like radiance. In this case, for example, that's the one that you won't be using when you are low on radiance. But so once you reach the end game or late game and you find a better catalyst that has a better scaling, maybe at low stat that is not going to be as efficient, but it's going to be better if you have more points into radiance. So that is basically the gist of everything, how magic works. The same thing is going to apply for Inferno. The thing is, the difference being here is that Inferno is going to scale the damage of Pyromancy. That said, we have the quality, both on strength and agility, and Radiance and Inferno. Like, you can make a quality build that is going to be based on strength and agility, and also you have the quality for Radiance and Inferno. The quality for Radiance and Inferno is going to create a brand new magic school class, which is going to be Wither, which is the dark magic that you have seen in the trailers. So you for schools of magic, you have 3 of them: Radiance, Inferno, and then finally Wither. Last but not least, Endurance and Vitality. It's weird how they change those things. But ideally, Vitality, it's just basic. The gist of everything is it's just your hit points. What I want to focus a little bit more is going to be Endurance, because Endurance is going to impact our build on many different ways, depending on what kind of archetype do you want to have. Mainly, what I like to do with endurance is that this is just a personal preference. This is a personal take. I've seen a lot of people popping up a bunch of endurance in both in Elden Ring, Dark Souls. I don't think that's that ideal because you are still going to have to manage your endurance. It doesn't matter if you get the chance to do 1 or 3 rolls more than the ones that I do, because at some point you are going to run out of it. So the ideal thing to manage this thing is just to use a ring that is going to increase your stamina regeneration, which is a ring that we do know that it is in this game, and as a matter of fact, thankfully enough, that ring is very early on the first tutorial area of the game, so you don't have to worry about having to manage your stamina that much because of that. That said, the stamina or endurance, it is going to impact your weight capacity if you fat roll or not, and that should be the primary focus, not really the stamina that much. So if you do not want to be fat rolling, you want to pop up endurance as much as possible for you to not fat roll. On the other hand, if you're a nimble, agile character, you're not going to need that much stamina, and as a matter of fact, the sweet spot for this thing that I like to have most of my Souls likes is just 15 to 25. I never go beyond 25 if I am not using it to bypass that weight capacity. There's that. Vitality, this is something that you want to pop up early game as soon as possible, as soon as you can. 15 to 20, that is going to carry you through the early game. And then there's actually a lot of people, there's a whole bunch of different opinions in here. There's going to be that one guy that we all know that says, honestly dude, it wasn't really that hard, that is going to pull it out, place it on the table just to presume that he's good at the game. We're not, we're just the average player, so you are going to be hits. That said, the maximum amount of vitality health that we need is going to be dependent on the soft caps that we're going to have in this game. The soft caps, the hard caps, and the caps. Once we have established all of that, we can determine if either we're going to have it on 40 to 50, which is ideally the numbers that I like to linger in here. Although, interestingly enough, on Lies of P, 30 was more than enough. But that's just because of the soft cap and character progression, so that is going to be dependent here as well. Now let's talk about the weapon archetypes, weapon scaling, and then which kind of weapon, which kind of stats, what are the best stats for you to make the character that you want to make. So we have different archetypes, and mainly let's focus on melee first. Strength, like I said, ideally is going to have a predominance on big weapons, like hammers or ultra great swords. Very heavy weapons. That is just basically how it works. Agility, which in this sense is dexterity in this game, is your Weevo stat. Scimitars, light weapons, daggers. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some type of katana in here as well. So the agile, fast attacking weapons, those are the ones that are going to scale the damage of that stats. So the third archetype, one of my personal favorites, and one of them all that is a little bit more difficult to build, it's going to be the quality. And we have quality characters starting classes. That being said, the quality starting classes is the Hallowed Knights, the Morsted Infantry, and the I think that I think it's the Partisan, I believe. Yeah, the Partisan is also one of them. Although the Partisan or the Morsted Infantry, they lean a little bit more into agility. That said, they are ideal classes to start as a quality. What is a quality going to give you? Medium-sized weapons, straight swords, halberds, claymores, like longswords that are not going to be as huge as the heavy boings, but are still going to be mainly predominant two-handed weapons. So those are the 3 melee archetypes that you want to have, and those are the stats that you want to focus if you want to make that build. Want to make a big boink hammer or a big ass sword that is going to be bigger than you on itself, then go strength. Want to probably find the katana that we're most likely going to have in this game, then dexterity is the way to go. Want to just be the sword and board basic knight that I always like to make. This is just me. I like to be the straight sword and the halberd knight. Then a quality is the way to go. And then we have the other 3 archetypes, which are just the basic stats that we previously discussed, which is why we are not going to count them that much as an archetype. Radiance for spells, miracles. Inferno for pyromancy and the mixture of them all, of both of them, to make a quality build that is going to make use of the dark magic. And then finally, weapon scaling. This goes hand in hand with the archetypes that I just told you about. Thankfully enough, this just works the same way as it does with Dark Souls and Elden Ring. It has the same principle. You have a value that is going to alter the scaling of the weapon. The higher the value, the more scaling that you are going to have. You want to make a big ass sword build, you're going to want to focus on something that is going to have strength scaling. You want to use a hammer, you might want to be looking for that thing that has strength scaling. You have to be very careful about looking at about those stats and learning about those mechanics. We are going to make separate individual videos about this for people that is kind of new to this mechanics and not know them that much. But for example, when it comes to the Morsted infantry, I believe that he has a flail. A flail, at first sight, you might think that it's a strength weapon, so you might wonder, maybe I play some points into strength to increase my damage in there. But no, developers actually said that the flail is a weapon that you are going to be scaling with dexterity. So what do you know? There's also quite a lot of dexterity weapons that we have, for example, in games like Elden Ring or Dark Souls. Those big curved swords, the ones that are two-handed, they seem to be like weapons that you would be scaling with strength, but no, in reality you're scaling with agility as well. There might be a weapon, a strength weapon, that seems at first sight like, for example, dual wielding like that with two blades, two edges, like for example the gargoyle twin sword that we had in Elden Ring. That seems to be like it's a dexterity weapon, but it's not. It's a strength weapon. So you have to be very mindful about the scaling of the stat of the weapon. We are going to make individual separate videos for all of that for you to understand which weapon are you going to be using for your builds. Anyways, if you like the content, like it, very super appreciated. No one told you today that you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You are indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. I will be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel before you close the door, and I'll be seeing you goddamn gorgeous and beautiful people in the next one. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.